One of the great dangers of our world right now is to over-spiritualize to the point where you're totally out of touch with what is human and natural. There's a great fear in spiritual religious circles of the word human and humane and humanistic and so forth. There's also the tragic extreme of being so involved in the human aspects of things that the spiritual is lost and, in fact, denied. And sometimes there are people who react so intensely to that. I would like you to pick up on this tone. If you are going to really become a whole person, a person for the future, you have to listen to that inner yearning for spiritual truth. Now, I believe that's, like the Bible says, deep that calls to deep. I believe that within man is that touch of God that makes him sensitive to what is going on in the spiritual realm. And I think it's very important that you and I don't shut our minds to that or our hearts down. I believe that a person of tomorrow is a seeker, a person who's still looking for. I think one of the things that I found in my life in the church very, very frustrating, that there were many people who sought until they thought they found and ended the seeking process, who just for the rest of their lives became non-seekers, comfortably fixed in a religious and spiritual position. We go back to the beginning, it's almost like a great circle. Openness of mind and spirit to new ideas means an openness to the movement of God in the world as we experience it. I do not know how God works, my friend, but this I do know, that he does. And I become very aware of the divine process, sometimes in awe and retrospect. Sometimes just looking back I see and sense something beyond my own human ability to function or perform. So I recommend to you that you allow yourself to sense things spiritually. I said to a friend the other day, I don't think God really needs me to go and sing How Great Thou Art so that he'll feel good. But I sometimes feel very much that I need to do that I need to allow my own spirit to be expanded in an awareness of the greatness of God. There's something that happens to me when I allow myself to be spiritual. Now, being spiritual is a lot different than being religious. Did you know that? A lot of religious people are not very spiritual. It's very easy to wring the spirituality out of life in the rules and the forms of religious performance. It's very easy to set the mind on hold, so to speak, and go through the perfunctory performances of religion. In prayer, we do that quite frequently. How often do we bow our heads over a meal and sort of rub our eyebrows and say the same that we've always said and feel that we have made a spiritual communication or contribution? I doubt that very much, my friend. I doubt if spirituality is involved in religious performance if it's perfunctory, if it is done just to be doing it. I think that when we allow ourselves to express ourselves in an awareness of spiritual awe, a sense of spiritual reality, something very beautiful happens to us. You could take all of the great religious minds of the world and put them in one room, and they still wouldn't come up with all the answers. The most remarkable thing about God is that God is what he is, and he's above and beyond all that man can define him to be. One of the most significant declarations about God you'll find in the Old Testament. When Moses asked, when he was told to go to Pharaoh, "Who shall I say sent me?" This was the answer he got from the burning bush. I am that I am. Bible says to be spiritually minded is life. To be carnally minded is death. It's interesting. Get a spiritual tone and it works. So I found this rather interesting editorialized thing. I want to pass it on to you. And beliefs obscure and distort reality. They do not reveal it. We cannot see anything outside of a belief because it is self-limiting.
A belief is a kind of box or pen or frame which encloses a limited area. No matter how large the pen or frame we build, it inevitably shuts out much more than it can enclose. That's a great sentence. It ignores that which it shuts out, and thus produces what we call ignorance. We see only that which lies safely within the frame. Beliefs produce what may be called the framed universe, an island surrounded by the unframed, limitless world of reality. A belief is made up of conscious and unconscious information and attitudes that have been given sanction as being valid, coherent, and consistent. A belief is definite as well as finite, and is bounded by ignorance of anything else that lies outside its frame. To know, to believe then, is really not to know, but to lean and depend on outside authority. The greatest damage a belief does to one who holds it is that it prevents free exploration, discovery, and perception of that limitless world that lies outside the prefabricated truth that is trapped inside the limiting belief. Reality will always elude us and is always greater than any box we can build to hold it. People always use the words faith and belief as synonymous. This is a great mistake. Faith is everything that belief is not. I want to say that one more time, my friend. I think that's a powerful statement. Faith is everything that belief is not. Nothing is possible outside the belief to someone who holds that belief. But with faith, all things are possible. Belief is static, structured, and inflexible. But faith is a condition of wonder and discovery of unknown potentialities which unfold as they are touched. Belief enslaves. Faith liberates the individual. Belief knows. Faith is a cloud of unknowing from which new forms emerge. That's the end of that editorial, or it's a short paragraph in the book. I like that immensely because I believe it so strongly. I know that we struggle with words a great deal. We're all by nature semanticists, and we put a great deal of emphasis on the proper usage of words, and that's where a great deal of our division comes from. I find that in this business all the time. I find myself saying something's very clear to me, but to a listener it takes a different direction because of a different interpretation of a word that's used. We're using belief in this sense, not interchangeable with the word faith. And what this writer makes very clear is that when our beliefs are inflexible, when we start pounding down, like we so often say, this I believe, we are setting perimeters, boundaries over which we dare not cross. And therefore we are not open to learning and to being and to growing. It's inconceivable to me that we can put God in a box. That's why I find some of the things that people are trying to say about God that are so limiting, so very offensive to me. Because I see God as great and above and beyond all of the limitation. He is greater than the church. He is greater than the Bible. He is greater than any structure that we try to place Him in. God has to be all that is free and great and be above and beyond. Yet we're always trying to pour Him into a little mold and make Him conform to our set patterns. We do this with so many things. Why don't you let some of your beliefs go? Challenge them, my friend, and let them go. That is, go on beyond them and step out and discover what the Bible taught us in the first place, that faith is the evidence of things not seen. It works. I'd like you to try it.